Welcome to another Plan 6 part video. Welcome to the next part of tr6 engine rebuild. I keep pointing. I don't know, I've gotten into this habit of pointing the stuff I'm doing. Okay, so obviously it looks a lot more different than the last time we've seen it. What I'd done is, and unfortunately I'd done a video and I'd realised that the camera decided to stop itself as usual. For some reason, I don't know why it likes to do that, and kick me out. And of course I finished it and realised I only got like not even a quarter of it. Anyway. So I'd finished the head, done all the valves, put all that back in, buttoned it down, and I'd put the rocker on, and I'd gapped all the rocker. Hang on, I'll raise up a bit there so you can see. I'd gapped all the rocker, and I'd actually fine-tuned the timing on the engine. Now, of course, I got all that done, and I'd like to be able to see it, but obviously I'm not going to take it all apart to do it again. So I'm going to run you through the steps of what I've done to actually achieve that. And again, this is just my way of doing it, and this is how I accomplish it. And again, if it works for some people, it does. If it doesn't, then there's whatever works for you, that's satisfactory. Okay, so what I wanted to do is, once I had the head on, I'd gapped all the rockers. But I wanted to, like anything, confirm that I was still on top dead center. So after I gapped the rockers and set the timing, I wanted to make sure that nothing moved, that in case the wheel moved, well, am I actually at 110 degrees? Like, did it actually stay top dead center? So I've came up with a new, unique way of doing the thing. Well, it's not unique. It's been done before, just done a different way. But I like my dial gauge. I'm just going to move it so you can see. So what I've done here is I have my dial gauge in the number 1 port, and what I've done was I brought the piston up to pretty much up to the top, based on top dead center, according to my timing wheel at the front. And because this is the one that I made with the push rod, it's pretty soft, so I don't have to worry about digging in. And I was able to actually, let me go back a bit. All I needed was that when I move it, that it would go, I'd see a stop as I reached, and then started to come back again. That's all I needed to see, just that amount. And then what I was able to do is, obviously I always go the way the engine goes to make sure the tension's on it. So I'd gone along, let's say for this case it was stopping somewhere near 60. I'd stop at, let's say 50, let's say for argument's sake, I stopped at like 55 there. I'd take a note on it, continue on, let it come back. Oops, it went too far. Stop at 55 again, and then what I'd done was, like anything, is that wasn't blah 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 blah. When I done it last night, when I was doing it, I'd obviously taken the first reading and I stopped, and you can see I was counting how many miles away from top dead center. I was 4 degrees. I kept going and I went again. The next time I got back to that mark, I was 4 degrees, so I knew it was still top dead center. So I just wanted to confirm that everything I had here was still lined up, because you never know, stuff moves, you bang it, the wheel could move, so I needed just to confirm the way it was, so that was fine. So I knew it was still top dead center. So there's a new way if you want to try it. Get your dial indicator and stick it in there, and I'll show you this one. This is my one, if you haven't seen it before. So this one, I've taken a dial indicator, obviously from old Princess Auto, and I've tack welded a push rod onto the end. So I get that nice round, smooth, machined finish. So again, once at an angle, I'm not worried about it digging in or chipping away or anything. So yeah, that's my new little way of getting top dead center now. So now I can get to top dead center without ever actually taking the head off. And again, I'm going to be much more accurate. And again, it's no different than using a bump stop. People have used the bump stop system, which is fine. There you go, you bump it, you mark it, you spin it all the way around again, you bump it. The only thing I don't like about that, I'm being honest, is that if you go one direction and you change the opposite way, you're now putting the lag of the chain on the opposite side, which theoretically you could be anywhere up to 6, 7, maybe 8 degrees off, depending how much lag is in your chain and your sprockets. But there's bound to be something. That's the only reason why I don't like going one way and then going back around the other way till it comes around. The only time that is irrelevant is if there's no chain on it. If you're just doing just the crank, that's fine, but if you're ever doing a bump stop system on a, with the heads on with a spark plug and the chain is on it, you have to go the same direction, otherwise you're just going to get completely wrong numbers. So that's the good thing I like about the dial indicator, is that I'll go the same direction as it goes up and goes over the crown and then comes back down, and I measure both sides of the crown and then the middle is top dead center. Easy, simple as mud. Well, clear as mud. Alright, so other than that, I'm going to show you how I gap the rocker. Put this up here. So how do I gap the rocker? Again, most of the times you use feeler gauges. I'm getting away from them, to be honest. Not that people have used them and people are fully satisfied with feeler gauge, that's fine. Just me personally, I don't know, I'm getting into the dial indicators a lot more. So the feeler gauges, you want to gap your rocker at 10 thou, and again, if you get your set, good chance, but this is the second set I got it, and maybe it's on all the sets and I don't know why, but the 10 thou is obviously golden in colour, so, well, gold plated, yellow, I don't know. Anyway, for some reason that's the exact one for the rocker on this one. So but again, I'm not fond of these, only because I've done it and I've measured it with the feeler gauge, and then I put the dial gauge on after it and found out I was only at like 6 thou, or I tightened it too much and I was at 12 thou. So like there was an inconsistency in gapping it. Now, again, there's probably people out there who know how to use the feeler gauge brilliantly, do an amazing job with it, I'm more than happy with it, absolutely. Just me personally, I haven't got to that level. So I like to stick to my dial indicator, and that's what I'm sticking with. Now, how do I do it? So, bits and pieces everywhere here. So here's the front of the engine. We're going to use the example of 1, 3, 10, and 1, 3, 10, and 12. So if you follow your book, it will tell you this. So what I do is, I'm just going to set it up. Alright, so the whole point is to know when your valve is fully open. So with 1 and 3, when the valve is fully open, and if you want to see where it is in the book with this, hopefully it's not too close, but we'll zoom out a bit. You go to this page in your book, if you don't know where it is, and it actually tells you, hang on. So it will tell you, let me move this, 10 and 12. When you crankshaft the 10 and 12 fully open, you can adjust 1 and 3. So the other way around. So in this case, I'll have 1 and 3 open, and I'm going to adjust 10 and 12. And the rest of the book tells you. So I know this is a rule of 12 or 13 or something along that line, but I never forget it. I always forget it. I just go with the book. Anyway, so what I do is I'd keep going until this valve is fully open. The engine is moving so smooth. There she goes. Now again, because of the dial indicator on the top, I can just wait and see that it bellows out. And again, I try to keep it on a smooth section. But I have to make sure that it also, I'll adjust it to make sure that it is sitting on a nice flat part. It takes a bit of movement, but I don't want it sitting at an angle. Let me show you. So, the way it's sitting there, I try not to have it sitting too far down here, unless it's at an angle. If I put it at an angle, then that's fine. But I just want to make sure when it goes down that it stays in a flat, because I don't want to be, I don't want it to, what's the word I'm looking for? Fall off or slide. So once I know it goes all the way down, right, actually, do you know what? I think it's starting to come back up again. Alright, you can see where it bottoms out. And that's why you want to make sure that it checks. It should only stay there for a second and then come back around again. If it holds too long, maybe it's not on correctly. So where is it stopping? It's stopping. You don't have the bonus there. Once you see where it stops, all I do is take note of it, and when it touches there, it's pretty much open. It's going over the crown, so therefore you don't have to have it exactly pinpoint or bang on. But you know the valve is fully open, so it's all compressed. It's fully open. 1 and 3 should be all the way down. So that leads us now to play around with number 10 and 12. So. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to check this gap, right? So 10 and 12, there's 1, 2. So obviously I'd done them last night. I want to see how close they are. They should be. I'd be pretty happy with them. Well, it should be. Moment of truth. Dun, 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 dun. So again, it means moving the gauge. But the good thing about this though is that if you do this, when you finished adjusting these, you can just leave it on it and then open this one all the way and then go back and do number 1 and 3 at the same time. So you can sort of, every time you do it, you can sort of double up. So. Again, I just want to find a smooth spot. So. So I'm adjusting the camera here. So there's a bit of a glare on it. So what I'm looking at now is I'm going to push down one side and get it fully set, which in this case looks like it's a 58. So it should be at 68. That's not good enough. Let me just double check this for a second. Hang on, just before I do. Alright. So I'm going to give a little tweak on this again. Which is good, because you're supposed to gap it anyway after soldering, you're supposed to re-gap it, so that's fine. So I would have started it, ran it for a while, then re-gapped it again. So obviously after gapping it the first time, and then after rotating the engine so many times, it probably found its little spot and it's moved again. So now we are at, I want to say, four, 5. Let me try from this end just to make sure I'm lifting it. Oh, there we go. Lift it from the right side. So we're at 61 and we're up at 71. 10 tail. Bang on. Like, so that's why I like the dial indicator, is because you can see it. Now I can guarantee if I put whatever amount of feeler gauges under here, I'll end up being wrong. So know that I can see it. This makes a huge difference, like a huge difference. And that's what I was doing last night. And then, like I said, it's so easy to see. So I'm surprised it doesn't work as good on this side. Sorry, my hand is put it out of focus now. But yeah, so, and then again, if I needed to adjust it, I undo the nut, and what I can do is I'd find where it's set. I push this down to set, and then what I do is I pull up, and if it's way off, I turn the screw until the gauge comes back down to 10, and then I try tightening it up. And of course it moves around a bit, but that's how I do it. So let me show you. So hopefully you can see it. So under the nut, and then I turn the screw driver until I got because there's pressure down on this, right? This was down, because of that pressure on this, I can push down on this side, and then I keep going to where I want it. So if I was at 61, and this was, let's say, at 80, I can just keep screwing it until the dial comes all the way back down to 71, then hold it, and then try to tighten it up and see where I am. Of course, you have to adjust about 10, well, 5 or 6 times. Sometimes you get it right the first time. There you go, and that's how I get my 10-tail gap. Which is, like I said, it's a simple little way. Again, it might not be for everybody. And I know somebody did ask me before, says, well, how do you know the gap on this is the same as the feeler gauge? I actually did measure it. I have a video and I showed you where I actually put a feeler gauge on a flat surface and actually put the dial gauge over to see if 1 tail was 1 tail or 10 tail was 10 tail on this, and it was. So, yeah. So that's how I done that. Now, let's move on to our timing. So, the thing is though, do you know what? While I'm doing it, I know that when I want to do this timing, that it's meant to be 110 with the inlet open. Now, that one is the exhaust valve. That's open right now. That's the exhaust valve open. So how do we go about timing? Well, first of all, we need to ideally find out when this is fully open. All right. Now I know we can borderline it here to say it's open when we're gapping it, but for timing wise, we want to make sure that this is fully open. So we're going to do the same thing as what I've done before, which is I put it down, I'll spin it, I'll wait till it gets to one point on the timing gauge on the wheel, then I will go past it again, and then I'll see at what degree on the wheel this is fully open, and that'll give me an idea how far I'm off. So I don't turn it to 110, I just see where I'm at. So let's go do that now. So on the book it tells you that this opens at, it's an early model, so this one should open at, I believe it is 10 degrees before top dead center, something like that. And the late ones are like 18. But then again, you close the difference. This one closed at 50 after bottom dead, and the other one is like 58. So like, there's 8 degrees difference. It's like it stays open longer, but this timing is theoretically the same. Me personally, I'd like to say I know exactly why. Maybe somebody can answer this. I think it's because of the size of the valves, because they're different size, that it stays, because of the late one opens 8 degrees sooner and closes 8 degrees later. Because of the size of, and it's still at 110 when it's fully open. I think because of the size of the valve, it stays open a little bit longer just because it draws the amount of air in. So it's always drawing the same amount. It's just a bigger hole doesn't need to be open as long. So, hey, maybe I'm wrong on that. Somebody can tell me that one. That's my theory, yeah? Alright, here we go. So we want to get into it. I want to find it fully open first. Again, I don't use this side. I have used this side, which is fine because it's a flat piece, but I find that because of the screw, any burrs around in it, I find triggers it or gets stuck, and again, that could be a difference in 2 degrees, and 2 degrees can make a difference. Okay, so we're bottomed out here. We're bottomed out at pretty much 80. Alright, so let's pick a point. So we're going to I'm going to zero it out about 75. Hang on, let me fix the camera a little better so you can see it. So this is where editing helps. Alright, so I'm going to stop at a 75. Actually, do you know what? Maybe just move it because that's in the way. So I'm just going to randomly move. Okay, let's see where she stops. $75 and comes back. Okay. So I'm going to pick 70 as my marker, and hopefully you can see that pretty good. Hang on. I want to go back, because I go back a little bit because I want to make sure I get the full tension in the chain. Alright. I would say that's spot on 70. No, pencil. Yeah. Pencil go. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our degree wheel and see where we're at. So this one, actually I have to bring it down lower because on this one here, because of where the wheel is shaped, you can't really see the pencil mark. There's a pencil mark back there. This one looks like it's lining up bad. Like I said, it's actually easier for me to use the camera. So if I follow the pencil mark, which is right there, I'd put that at 91.5. Hopefully you can see the pencil line behind it. I know it's wearing down a bit. It's a bit of shade in it as well, so that doesn't help, but I can see it when it lines up. So 91.5, alright? So let's go back to our dial indicator. So of course we're going to bring it back now to 70 again. I know it looks like it's a little off 70 from you, but I'm a little higher. And again, that's why I have the two lines back there, so we always see the same. But the camera's a little lower from my height, that's spot on, like spot on compared to, like, hang on, let me show you. I'm up to a little bit higher, so it shows it more on the line to me. So I have to go by my height. Again, that's the whole having two lines of sight to make sure you're always the same. Alright. Now, if I end up with half a degree off just because of where I stopped, I'll take that. So there we go again. Hang on, drop it down further. All I'm clicking is just the thing that's on the stand, so it doesn't move. I really have to go down on this one. I would say that is 120, give or take, like that have to be 128.5. So sorry, I'm trying to move it. You can see, I know it's really zoomed in. That's where I'm getting the 28.5, see? That's in between. So let's look at the degree wheel and see where we are with our top dead center. When it's fully open, what are we at? So we started off at 91.5, and we're at 128.5. So now we have to find the halfway point of that. So let's go 10, 20, 25, 26, 27, 28, right? Exclude the half, 28. 33, 34, 35, 36. So it's 36 degrees between the two halves. So half of that is 18. So that half a degree has to move 18 times. So if I go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So give or take half a degree, which is very livable. Make sure again, so 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I'm at 109.5. Now I don't know about you now, if I wanted to find that half a degree, let's say I really did want to get it, which I could do, but half a degree is going to be hard to find. It'd be easier to find a bigger amount, like 2 or 3 degrees. What I do is, depending on which way you want to move. So I know when this is fully open, that I'm at 109.5 degrees. I can live with half a degree. I know that. If it was over 1 degree, I could live with it, but, sorry, I've said it obviously. Could I live with it? Absolutely. But you know me, if it was 1 degree, I'd find it. Half a degree, that's so small. Like, I'd have to be able to move it 1/4 of a degree just to get the half. And that's so minuscule, it's not going to be worth it. So based on where I stopped as well, like I said, it could be a half a degree, it could be a half a degree. It could be 1 degree out overall, but I'm only half a degree off the 110, which is, I mean, that's pretty as close you can get. Well, actually, I would get closer. Anyway, so what we're going to do is, let's say you wanted to find a difference. Let's say you actually ended up at, let's say 105 for argument's sake. Right, at 5 degrees defined, how do I do it? Well, you're looking at your lag on the chain. And what you do is you do the same thing except with the degree wheel. So you would look at your gauge, all right, and you pick a point. Oh, it's going to be a little harder to explain. Because there's a lot of moving parts on this. You want to, I have a video, actually, there's one for you. I have a video, if you go back and look, and I show you how to find the lag on the chain. I use a degree wheel, and I show you how many degrees is lag on the chain, but going both directions. So if I really wanted to find more degrees, what I do is the simplest way to do it is to loosen these 2 nuts, loosen them but not take them out, just enough to allow the sprocket to move, but the camshaft will stay still. And then what you do is you actually just start to crank it a bit. And if you wanted to find 3 degrees, move it 3 degrees and then stop and then button it up again. And then wind it backwards first and then go forward and do the same again and see what degrees you have moved. The maximum way to do it, obviously, if you feel like you have to go to maximum, is to loosen it and then just start cranking it. And as the whole lot starts to move, stop and then button it up. Button these 2 up, and then that will keep the full tension on there. But then that could put you beyond 110. And if it does, you're just going to do the same thing. You're going to undo it and go the opposite direction. You're going to come back a bit, and that's it. And that's how you find your degrees. So like I said, if you're 3 or 4 out, you should be able to loosen this and go the opposite direction if you have too far, or the right direction, and move it like 2 degrees, 2, 3, and that the camshaft, it should be loose enough that the cam should not have moved. And how you'll know that is to look at your dial indicator. If you have your dial indicator set at a point, and I don't mean at the full open. So the only way you can do this, because you have to know if it moves or not. And if you look at the dial indicator, when I stopped it at 70, right? But that came down to 75. If you use this fully open as your reference, well then there's a lobe there, it hangs there for a while. How do you know? You have to pick a point where if you tip it If that camshaft moves the slightest bit, that's going to move. And then what you can do is, if you want to find the degrees, you can move the degrees and see at what point this moves. So when your dial indicator starts to move, you're pulling on the cam. And then that's your full max. And that's how I measure the lag on your chain. So you do the same thing. You'd pull it one direction. Let's say stop at 70. Go in one direction with the tension on one side of the chain. When you do that, you mark it on your degree wheel. Then you go the opposite way, right? So you would you have to go the opposite direction to get to 70. So you have to go beyond it really, turn the other way that the lag is on the opposite side of the chain, and go back until you hit the same point. And then you can see the degree difference on the chain. If that makes any sense, I hope it does. Because you have to, in order to see the lag, you have to see both sides. So you have to move it the opposite way around, because you can have the strain on either side of the chain. Well, should I say how it pulls. So because the crank is turning, I hope I'm not going in too deep for people here. Because the crank is turning, this is pulling. This is the part that's pulling. So the cam only moves when the chain gets pulled. So when your engine is going around, all the tension is on this side, because it's pulling it. So all the tension is on this side. And then obviously it loosens up that side. When you go the opposite way, all the tension on this side, because it depends which side this sprocket is pulling from. Sorry, I'm holding the camera now. It all depends which direction you're going, which side of this sprocket is pulling it. So, like I said, if you go one way and then you stop, and then you continue to go, and then go reverse back to the same point, and now the tension's on the opposite side. When you get to that point, you can see on the degree wheel, if you mark them, how big of a difference in degrees there is. So now you know how much play you have. So that's it. And like I said, it's not too bad to do, because no matter how you do it, and I kid you not, no matter how many times oh god, the doggies are off again. No matter how many times you twist it and then put this on, it's never going to be correct, because there's no strain or no tension on the chain when you first put this on. So the chance of it being perfect is remote. So you will always have to loosen these and go one direction or the other to fine tune it to 110. So I hope that helps. And again, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or anything about that, let me know. And like I said, I'll help you a bit more. You can always, if you're around, you can always come out to me here at Planet 6 Parts, and I'll help do it for you. I know Nick came a long way from up in Sarnia down to me for his beautiful engine that he redone, and he's gone a long way into it, and I can't wait to see the car. It's going to sound pretty good. But yeah, it's easy enough once you do it a few times. It's all about process of elimination. And I said, you can get to 110 every time, regardless whether you're using a new chain, a used chain, new gear, and old gear, and it doesn't make a difference. You can get to that and if you don't get to it, then something was wrong in the first place. Then the cam is completely out of sync. And like I said, it's a package of a few things, and that's why I do this way. That's why I have my way of doing it, because I know that it's never going to be right the first time. So I do that, and then I base it off the system here. And again, I'll say why I do this way is because this system is complete. All the pressure is on the push rods. I've gone around a few times. Like I said, it will loosen up when you get the engine running, because it will tone the vehicle. No matter how good you strap it, 10 minutes down the road, you go back out, all the straps are loose, because everything wiggles and finds its set position. This still has to find its set position, and that's why whenever you run the vehicle, you have to bring it back and re-gap it. Usually after about, to be honest, I'd give it about somewhere between 50 to 100 kilometers. So not too little, but not too large, and then re-gap it again. Hopefully some don't move, but they may. Especially when you put new ones in, because they have to wiggle their way in and find that full stress. So it's important for me when I do it that these are all set and gapped correctly before I do the final timing. Because you can see, I need to make sure this valve is fully open based on the push rod that's in it, how it's set, the whole shebang. And then now I know I can set this directly from this. As I said, and that's a choice. I know some people like to do it just from the head alone. Again, whatever rocks your boat, it's really it. And I hope this is useful. And yeah, so I'm going to continue on. Now that this is done, I'm pretty happy with this. Next video, we're going to move on to our distributor. I want to get that done before I put the engine back in. But now I'm finished with this and the way at the bottom end and everything's all hunky-dory. I'm going to flip her around and I'm going to put the sump onto it, or the oil pan, whatever you want to call it. So many different names. Depends which side of the pond you're on, I guess. And then I'm going to look at a way of using the dial indicator to do the same thing with our distributor. So we're going to get our top dead center. We're going to put a timing gear in, and we're going to line it up and all that. But yeah, like again, the same thing. It will be always perfect. Maybe, maybe not. But that's why we fine tune it when we get it in using the distributor by turning it. So that's it. So again, yeah, any comments, questions, concerns? If anybody wants me to do another video on how I found the top dead center using my dial indicator through number 1 port, I can do a video on that alone. But I think this one pretty much covered it. It's not too much rocket science. It's just because I have a long one with a push rod at the end of it. It gives me the opportunity to do that. So, all right, let me drop this down, and I will say thanks for watching. I hope it's helpful, and click, and I will see you in the next part. So, getting close to putting this back together. So, thanks for watching.